श्रीशैलेशदयापात्रम् धीभक्त्यादिगुणार्णवम् यतीन्द्रप्रवणम् वन्दे रम्यजामातरम् मुनिम् लक्ष्मीनाथसमारम्भाम् नाथयामुनमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्ताम् वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम् यो नित्यम् अच्युतपदाम्बुजयुग्मरुक्मव्यामोहतस्तदितराणि तृणाय मेने अस्मद्गुरोर्भगवतोऽस्य दयैकसिन्धोः रामानुजस्य चरणौ शरणम् प्रपद्ये लोकाचार्याय गुरवे कृष्णपादस्य सूनवे संसारभोगिसन्दष्टजीवजीवातवे नमः।
Asmat Gurubhyo Namaha, Asmat Paramagurubhyo Namaha, Asmat Sarvagurubhyo Namaha. So we're continuing with our listening to Sri Vacana Bhusanam. We're going to start with Sutra number 40.
Yeah, beautiful. So he's explaining that while we are still in the material world, waiting to go to Vaikuntha, we have the Acha avatar to be with the Sriman Narayan. That's
yes. The emphasis is being given on the idea that that the Arch Avatar is the most accessible to us. And also in that last sutra, he is talking about how because in Sutra 39, the different forms of God given in Pancharatra were explained. The analogy was given as different sources of water. For a person who's very, very thirsty, he needs water, and so if the Lord within the heart is like the water that's in the groundwater, and you have to dig a well to get to that groundwater. So it takes a lot of effort to see the super soul, to see the Paramatma. Right. Whereas, and then what to speak, and the water in the clouds is like the Lord in Vaikuntha.
Yeah, right.
You know?
Yeah.
And the flash floods are like the avatars that come. You know.
Yeah,
so
right.
If you're not around for a flash flood, then you can't get the water. But the deities compared to ponds of small lakes of water that are left after the flash flood. So, for instance, we go to a temple. It's a temple of Krishna or a temple of Rama, and Rama is not personally there in the sense that because we're not living at the time of Rama or the time of Krishna. So, but the deity of Rama, the deity of Krishna is there, and therefore we can see like what's left. You know.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Beautiful analogy. Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's available for us, and the emphasis in the 40th sutra was that that because this is so accessible, this form of God, that helps us. He helps change our mind from being averse to God to being towards God by the beauty of the deity form.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So continue on.
Srimate Ramanujaya Namaha, Srimad Varavaramunaye Namaha, Pillalokacharyar Tiruvadigalе Sharanam. In Sri Vacana Bhusanam so far, it has been shown that not only is the Archavataram form of the Lord easily accessible, but his form also corrects the Chetanas who are immersed in other things and are averse to him by changing them to have desire for him. And after that, he actually becomes the means, and finally he also becomes the Bhogya. That is, he is the one to be experienced and enjoyed by the Chetanas in the Archavataram form. Up to this point, the fact that there are no conditions of place, time, etc. for Prapatti was shown, and that the only condition that exists is who is this Prapatti done to, and that is Perumal. Then the greatness of Perumal was shown, followed by the speciality of Archavataram, which is one of the 5 states of Perumal. Next, Pillalokacharya seeks to show the qualifications of the Adhikari, the Chetana who does the Prapatti, in the next sutras. Sutram number 41. Idil Prapatti Pannum Adhikarigal Mover. Idil, that is, in the Archavataram, Prapatti Pannum Adhikarigal Mover. the Chetanas doing Prapatti in the Archavataram due to the completeness of qualities such as Saulabhyam, etc. are of three types. Who are these three types of Adhikaris is answered next. Sutram number 42. Agyarum, Jnanadhikaram, Bhakti Paravasaram. The three Adhikaris are 1. Agnyar, 2. Jnanadhikar, 3. Bhakti Paravasar. Agnyar are those who lack knowledge to do the sadhanas, that is the means or the devices to try and reach him. When Pidalokacharya says Agnyar, that is those who lack knowledge, he also includes, or it is understood that he is also including the lack of ability. So they lack knowledge and the ability, Jnanam and Shakti. The second group are Jnanadhikar, those who have the knowledge and the strength or the ability, but who still understand that the true nature of the soul is complete dependence on the Lord. They are Adyanta Paratantriyas, those who have complete Paratantriyam, complete dependency on Him. They are those who have no qualification or ability to protect themselves. They realize that following other means is opposed to the nature of the soul and therefore have the completeness in knowledge not to follow them. The third group are the Bhakti Paravasars, those who have lost the capability to follow anything or any means properly or completely due to the great devotion and love to Perumal, and therefore their abilities are broken or abandoned. Next, Pidalokacharya gives examples of these three types of Adhikaris. Sutram number 43. Ajnanattale Prapannar Asmadadigal. Jnanadhikyattale Prapannar Purvacharyargal. Bhakti Paravasyattale Prapannar Alvargal. Asmadadigal. These are the first examples. They are people like us. By saying Asmadadigal, Pidalokacharya includes himself due to Naichyanusandhanam and uses this particular word. To use other means, we need knowledge, strength, etc. Those who lack that, they have no other refuge and therefore they place their weight on his shoulders and do prapatti. The inclusion of Pidalokacharya in this word is just like Alvar saying, Neechane Nere Ondrumilen in Thiruvaimozhi. The example for the second group are Purvacharyas. Purvacharyas, who are our Acharyas in the Sampradayam, are very strong in knowledge and capability, and they can follow any of the other means. But they realize that this is against the very nature of their soul and discard all the other means, and true to the nature of the soul, place their weight entirely on him. They are Acharyas such as Nathamunigal, Alavandar, Ramanuja and others. The example for the Bhakti Paravasar are Alvargal. The Alvars, due to the great love and devotion to Perumal, they have lost control of their senses and the instruments of those senses. This is what Nammalvar means when he says, Palali Nikadakkum Panbayam Ketteyum, Kalalum Ninjaliyum Kansudal. That is, all his senses have abandoned him. His legs have become weak, his heart has melted, and his eyes are spinning. And this stands for all the other senses too. In another place he says, Ittakal Ittakayyala Irukkum. There it is shown that Parankusha Nayaki, that is Nammalvar, in the Nayaki Bhavam, his divine mother says she has no control over her body parts and lays as she is left. So the Alvars are not qualified to follow any other means, and having no other refuge, they too have placed their weight on him. The fact that those who have great bhakti and have lost themselves cannot follow any other means is shown by Alvar when he says, Unne kaanum avavil vizhundan engutrenum allen. That is, lost in his beauty and qualities, Alvar says he has collapsed, desiring to see his beauty and cannot follow any other means. The same is explained by him in another pasuram also, in Kolban Munne Vittenam. But a question arises here. All these three types of adhikaris have connection to each of the qualities mentioned for each of the group. So why only specify one quality for each? Pulalokachar answers that in the next sutram, sutram number 44, இப்படி சொல்லுகிறதும் ஊற்றத்தை பற்ற. இப்படி சொல்லுகிறதும். Why say that amongst the three, the Agnyar, those who lack knowledge, capability, etc., Jnanadikar, those who have knowledge, etc., but do not follow any other means, and Bhakti Paravasar, those who are not able to use the instruments of the senses, why say that only one for each for these three types of adhikaris? He answers by saying Utrattai Patra, because amongst the three, one of them is strengthened more than the others in each of the adhikaris. In Asmadadis, that is us, knowledge and bhakti is extremely low, while ignorance is very, very high. In Acharyas, ignorance is low, bhakti is limited, but knowledge is very high. In Arvars, there is very, very little ignorance. Knowledge is fully there, but bhakti is unlimited. So setting aside that which is less, Pulalokacharya shows the qualification that is high in each as the reason for their prapatti. But another question arises here. Isn't there a drawback to the statement? Because we are saying that Arvas who have the flawless knowledge, the Mayavara Madinalam, that they got from Perumal himself, that they had a small quantity of ignorance. How can we say that? Manavala Mamre explains that it is not the case because it is done mainly to show the emphasis on the one that is greatly strengthened in them and the one into which their thoughts go greatly into. In these three types of adhikaris, it is obvious that lack of knowledge is very appropriate for the first group. For the second group, because they understand the meanings through pramanas, that is proofs, there is still a little bit of connection to the ajnana from the past. It is not fully gone, that pasana is still there. So lack of knowledge can be considered to an extent. For the third group, they have the flawless knowledge, they have received it from him, so when they say they are ignorant, it is due to naichyam. What are the causes of these three? Namely, the ignorance, the knowledge of the soul's true nature, and the great devotion to him. This is answered in the next sutram by saying that they come from the three tattvas, the three principles. Sutram number 45. Immundrum moondu tattvattayum patri varum. The three tattvas are Achit, Chit and Ishvara. Immundrum, the three qualifications mentioned above, come from these three tattvas. The first one, lack of knowledge and lack of capacity, is caused by the relationship with Prakriti due to karmas. Therefore, it comes from the Achit tattva, the body which has no knowledge. Second, the completeness in knowledge shows that the other means are opposed to the true nature of the soul. The cause for this is the understanding of the Atma's true nature that is shown to the Namaha Padam in the Tirumantram. Therefore, this knowledge comes from the Chit Tattva, which is the Atma Tattva. Third, the loss of the control of the senses and their instruments, which does not allow the ability to follow any means fully, comes out of bhakti, which is caused by his great beauty. This is what Arvar means in Thiruvaimozhi, where he says, Kadal kadal pure vilavitta karamar meni. His divine dark beauty created a love that is bigger than the biggest of the oceans. So the bhakti is caused by the Bhagavat Vigraha Vailakshanyam, the uniqueness of his divine beautiful form. Therefore, Bhakti Paravasyam comes out of the Ishvara Tattva. Thus, the three tattvas are the cause of the three qualifications for the three adhikaris mentioned above. Alvar Embirumana Jiyar Tiruvizhigale Sharanam, Adiyen Mudar Kavidasan.
Yeah, so three types of adhikaris, they call them also, adhikaris.
Yeah,
Yes, clear.
adhikari means qualifications. And
Okay,
he was explaining about the different types of people and the different, the emphasis amongst them.
ஆழ்வார் திருவடிகளே சரணம், எம்பெருமானார் திருவடிகளே சரணம், பிள்ளை லோகாச்சாரியர் திருவடிகளே சரணம், ஜீயர் திருவடிகளே சரணம். Srivachana Bhusanam, 46th Sutram. In the previous couple of Sutrams, Pillai Lokacharya taught us an important concept. in the 43rd Sutram, he talked about the three categories of people who surrender to Lord Sriman Narayana. அஜ்ஞானத்தாலே பிரபன்னர் அஸ்மதாதிகள், ஞானாதிக்கியத்தாலே பிரபன்னர் பூர்வாச்சாரியர்கள், பக்தி பாரவசியத்தாலே பிரபன்னர் ஆழ்வார்கள். So he includes himself in asmadadigal. People like us surrender, become prapannas due to ajnana, because we don't have any other knowledge. The only thing we know is Lord Sriman Narayana. We don't have the knowledge to even know of any other means, and hence we surrender to Lord Sriman Narayana, he says. Jnanadikyatale prapannar purvacharyargal. Purvacharyas, Manavada Mamuni here quotes like Nadhamuni, Yamunacharya, that is Alavandar and Ramanuja, and of course all other Purvacharyas. They understand the true nature of the soul, true nature of the Supreme Being, that is Lord Sriman Narayana, and they understand that the soul is completely dependent and subservient to Lord Sriman Narayana. Because of that knowledge, they know that adopting any other means other than Lord Sriman Narayana himself is against the nature of the soul, and hence they surrender to Lord Sriman Narayana only. And people like Alvars, Bhakti Paravasyattale Prapannar Alvargal. Alvars, they are completely immersed in their limitless love for Lord Sriman Narayana. Their love is such that any living moment, any moment they are thinking only about Lord Sriman Narayana, they are enjoying his anubhavam, or they are pining for, they are pining to reach Lord Sriman Narayana as soon as possible. Either they are enjoying anubhava of Lord Sriman Narayana, or they are asking, when will you take me, because they cannot bear separation from Lord Sriman Narayana even for a moment. Those are the three types. And Alvars, since they are completely immersed and completely under the influence of bhakti, their organs, hand, leg, etc., they don't work like they do for people like us, because they are completely under the control of the bhakti, and hence they cannot, even if they want to adopt any other upaya, they cannot. The only thing they know is Lord Sriman Narayana, and hence they surrender to Lord Sriman Narayana. And of course, in the next couple of sutras, Pillai Lokacharya said that even though all three, Ajnana, Jnanadikya and Bhakti Paravasya, is present in everyone in different quantities, the primary one, the one that actually moves that category of people, is to be considered in order for us to understand what is driving them to do surrender, whether it's Ajnana or Jnanadikyam or Bhakti Paravasya. In this sutra, it is as if it is answering a question, which is there any person in which all three of them can be seen, where Ajnana, Jnanadikya and Bhakti Paravasya can be seen at the same time? That is answered in this sutra. So the 46th sutra, Ennan Seigen Engiravidatil Immunum Undu. In the Thiruvaimozhi, this is the Ara Amude Padigam, where Nammalvar sings about Lord Aravamudan in Tirukudandai. Nowadays it's called Kumbakonam. That place is called Kumbakonam. It's a beautiful, beautiful Thiruvaimozhi. Of course, all Thiruvaimozhis are beautiful, but this one has its own unique specialities. There, in one of the pasuras, he says, Ennan Seihen Yare Kalaihan Ennayan Seihin Nai. Like that, the pasuram goes. Ennan Seihen means, what can I do? I am not able to do anything. O Lord, what can I do? What should I do? What can I do? I cannot do anything. That sort of a meaning is represented in Ennan Seihen. In that pasuram, we can see all these three, is what this sutra says. Now let us see how, using the beautiful Vyakyanam of Manavala Mamunigal. So Nammalvar, he is pining to go and join Lord Sriman Narayana, and Lord Sriman Narayana has not taken him yet. Aravamudan hasn't taken him, that is, not granted moksham to him yet. So Nammalvar, he is thinking that Lord is not looking at his arti or at his pining and not taking. So maybe the Lord is waiting for me to adopt some means to attain him. There he is pressing his inability by saying, Ennan Sehen, what can I do, Lord? I do not know any other means. I have no knowledge of any other means other than you. So that is the first one, which is here there is Ajnanam. Ajnanam of other means. Nammalvar does not know of any other means. Then if the Lord potentially answers, no, Nammalvar, Mayarvara Madinalam Arula Petravarhal, right? Alvars are people who have been given the true knowledge by Lord Sriman Narayana. So if the Lord says, no, I have given you knowledge, then Nammalvar says, due to that knowledge only, I cannot adopt any other means. Because that knowledge tells that my soul, that is me, I am completely subservient and dependent upon you. In that state, how can I adopt any other means? Isn't that against my nature? Isn't that against the nature of the soul? And hence I cannot do. So here, because of the Jnanam, he is not adopting any other means. He is surrendering only to Lord Sriman Narayana. But suppose, just for argument purposes, Lord Sriman Narayana is making this exception argument, saying, it is okay, that exception you can follow some other means, because that means will get you to me, that is what you want, isn't it? So just to get to me, maybe you can follow that path, some other path. Then in that case, Nammalvar says, but the knowledge that you have given me is driven from the bhakti rupa panna jnanam. Right? You have given me full bhakti, and then the knowledge is derived from that only. Because of that, I am completely immersed in it. I am completely overwhelmed by it. So I cannot follow any means, even if I wanted to. I cannot do anushtanam of any other means. So what can I do? Ennan Seihen. That is what Manavala Mahamanigal explains. This Ennan Seihen here, O Lord, what can I do? Applies to all three. Ajnana, I do not know any other means. With Jnana, he says, what can I do, Lord, O Lord Araumuda? Because my knowledge tells me that I am completely subservient to you. And how can I adopt any other means? Because that will be against my true nature. And then even if there is some exceptional argument that is being made, he says, my knowledge that you have given is bhakti rupa panna jnanam. So I am completely immersed in bhakti. Because of that, I cannot do anything. I cannot follow anything correctly because I am completely mad about you and I am thinking about you all the time. I am incapable of following any other path. Ennan Seihen, what will I do? So all these three are seen in Nammalvar in this Pasuram is what this Sutram says. In the next Sutram, Sri Vacana Bhusanam, 47th Sutram, the question is asked, okay, for all these three, if Alvar has all these three, for Alvar's Prapatti, what is the main cause? So 47th and 48th Sutras answer that. The 47th Sutra is Angonnai Pattirukum and the 48th Sutra is Mukhyam Maduve. So here in both of these Sutras, Pillai Lokacharya and Manavala Mahamanigal explain to us that even though Alvar has all those three, as discussed above, the Bhakti Paravashyam is the one that is the primary. And that is what the surrender is based upon. Because that is the important one. The reason why it is important, Manavala Mahamanigal says, is that Bhakti Paravashya, completely under the influence of Bhakti, that state, basically one does surrender in that state, the Prapya Ruchi, the desire for and the longing for the object to be attained, that is Lord Sriman Narayana, is there without any blemish. Kannadivara, there is absolutely no blemish, that is absolutely there. Hence it is the most important one, he says. Now the next two sutras, 49 and 50, are answering the question of, is there any pramana, is there any Purvacharya's words or any granthas, Smriti, Itihasa, Puranas, in which it is said that these are the three characteristics, the Ajnana, the Jnanadikya and Bhakti Paravashya. And both the sutras give two different pramanas. So 49th Sutra gives a pramana that was given by Sri Parashara Bhattar in the introduction to Jitante Stotram Vyakhyanam that Periyavachan Pillai has written for the Jitante Stotram. We will see the Sutram and briefly look into the meaning. Avidyataha engira shlokatil immunum chollittu. So in the shloka that starts with Avidyataha, these three are said. That is the meaning of this Sutram. let us see the shloka and briefly look into the meaning through the use of Manavala Mamuni's Vyakyanam. Jitante Stotram is a very, very important stotram for us. In many houses, I would say in most Sri Vaishnava houses, during daily Tiruvaradanam, Jitante Pundarikaksha, Namaste Vishwabhavana, Namaste Srushikesha, Mahapurusha Purvaja, that is the first stotra of Jitante Stotram. This Jitante Stotra is chanted during Tiruvaradanam every day. It is considered to be a part of the Rigveda Khilam. It is considered to be a lost part of Rigveda, that after that it basically has somehow come into, there is a history behind how it came, and then it is present, and it is present in daily use nowadays. There is a Vyakyanam for this that was written by Periyavachan Pillai. In the introduction to that Vyakyanam, Periyavachan Pillai quotes the sloka that Parashara Bhattar has written. Now the important thing about Jitante Stotram is Periyavachan Pillai says that if we look into the inner meanings of Jitante Stotram, it is as if it is a Vyakyana, it is a commentary on surrender, on Sharanagati itself, he says that. And after that he quotes this sloka of Parashara Bhattar. Avidhyato deve paribhridaya va viditaya swabhakter bhumna va jagati gatim anyama vidusham gathir Ghamyaschasau haririti jitantah vayamano rahasyam vyajahre sakhalu bhagavan shaunaka munihi. So here the meaning is fairly straightforward. Avidhyato deve paribhridaya va viditaya swabhakther bhumna va jagati gatim anyama vidusham. This is the most important one. Here there are three categories that are quoted. Avidhyato, so it is ajna, somebody who does not know, does not have the jnana and shakti to understand some means to follow, to reach Lord Sriman Narayana. And then the second one is sarvajna, people who knows everything. So though they know that Lord Sriman Narayana is supreme, he cannot be limited by place, time or material. He is all powerful, and because of that there is no other means that makes sense, and only he is the means. And then the last one is Swabhakter Bhumnava, people who are completely immersed in their bhakti, they are bhakti paravashyas, they also think of Lord Sriman Narayana Hari as the only means. That is what this shloka says, and this is a direct quote, a proof that one of our Purvacharyas, particularly in the Vyakyanam to Jitante Stotram, has told this. In fact, what Parashara Bhattar says is that, so this concept is what is told in the Mantra Rahasya in the Jitante Stotram. For that, Shaunaka Bhagavan is doing some commentary on that. That is what he says. That is one pramana or one evidence. Now the 50th Sutra gives one another example. And this pramana is from Lakshmi Tantram, is from again a smriti. Idam sharanam ajnanam, 50th Sutram. Idam sharanam ajnanam. So here in Lakshmi Tantra, Lakshmi says this. Let us see the shlokas. Idam sharanam ajnanam, idameva vijanatam, idam titirshatam param, idam anantyamichatam. So idam sharanam ajnanam, idameva vijanatam. This is the one for people who don't have any knowledge. Ajnanam. Idameva vijanatam, for people who have knowledge also this is the one. Idam titirshatam param. Titirshatam means people who want to cross the ocean of samsara. People who want to come out from the ocean of samsara immediately, and they don't want to wait. Immediately they want. For them also, idam anantyamichatam. This gives the ultimate fruit, which is Lord Sriman Narayana and service to Lord Sriman Narayana. And then there is one more shloka from Lakshmi Tantram itself that is also quoted in the Vyakyanam by Manavala Mamunihal. Apaya upaya nirmukta madhyamam sthiti mastita sharanagatihi agriya esha samsararnavatarini. Yeah, this shloka talks about sharanagati being the means that actually allows us to cross the ocean of samsara. So in the 49th and 50th sutras, we saw that Pillai Lokacharya and Manavala Mamuni gave us clear evidence, clear pramanas for the three characteristics that propel people to do Sharanagati. Alvaram Perumanar Jiyar Thiruvadigale Sharanam.
Yeah, clear. Yeah. Very nice.
So, do we go on?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
ஸ்ரீமதே ராமானுஜாய நமஹ, ஸ்ரீமத் வரவரமுனையே நமஹ, பிள்ளலோகாச்சாரியார் திருவடிகளே சரணம். In Sri Vacana Bhusanam, coming up to this point, Pillalokacharya has shown the three types of adhikaris who do prapatti, their qualifications, examples for each, and shown that each is associated with one type of qualification, which is primary to them, and the principles behind each of those. He then showed that in Nammalvar, all three can be seen using the verse Ennan Seiyen in the 5th Thiruvaimari, 8th, 10th, 3rd Pasuk. He also showed that his prapatti is primarily associated with Bhakti Paravasam as its cause, as it is the most important of the three. He then gave pramanas or proofs for these three types of adhikaris and their associations through Parasara Bhatta's words and a verse in Lakshmi Tantra. Next, he explains why those who have done this type of prapatti, namely the one caused by Bhakti Paravasam, lose their state and start making efforts to gain him, and when he shows himself to them, they angrily push him away. That is shown in the next sutra. Sutram number 51. Bhakti tannile avastha bhedam pirandavare இதுதான் கொலையக் கடவதாய் இருக்கும். Avastha bhedam, that is losing the state. What does it mean to lose the state of Bhakti Paravasam? We saw before that Bhakti Paravasam is the abandonment of the senses and its instruments, and therefore the adhikari is incapable of making any effort and accepts Perumal as the only means and places their weight on him and they wait for him. Pillalokacharya says that avastha bedam is born in this bhakti now. Bhakti tannile avastha bedam pirandavare. Iduthan, that is this prapatti, kolaya kadavadai irukkum. He says this state is lost. Losing that state means rolling one's eyes, that is starting to look around for any means. Why this happens is because of the intense drive to get Perumal immediately. In this case, Alvar loses that state that he had expressed in the Ennan Seiyen verse. Next, this heightened bhakti can cause different states is explained. Sutram number 52, Tannai Penavum Pannum, Tarikkavum Pannum. Two states are mentioned by Pillalokacharya in this verse. Tannai Penavum Pannum, Tannai Tarikkavum Pannum. This losing of the Bhakti Paravasam state can cause two things. Penavum is taking care of oneself. This is shown in Periyarva's Tirumari, where Alvar says, Karai Poonum, Kannadi Kanum, Tan Kaiyil Valai Kudukkum, Kurai Udukkum Ayarkum, Tan Kubbai Chevvai Tiruttum, Teri Teri Nindru, Ayiram Per Tevan Tiram Pidatrum, Maril Ma Manivannan Mel Ival Mal Urugindrade. In this pasuram, Periyarva has taken the role of a Gopika. And her situation of reaching out to Perumal is spoken not by her, but by the mother of that Gopika, because she is in such a state. And here, the mother of the Gopika says, the Gopika is wearing a golden necklace around her neck, Karai Poonam. Then she checks her beauty in the mirror, Kannadi Kanam. Then she shakes the bangles around her wrist, Tan Kaiyil Valai Kudukkum. Kurai Udukkum, she wears a sari. After doing all that, seeing that he has not come yet, she loses energy, Ayarkum, but then she recovers from that and takes better leaves to make her lips red. Tan Kovvai Chevvai Tiruttum. Teri Teri Nindru, gaining her senses, she speaks the qualities of the Perumal spoken in the Sahasranam, Ayiram Per Devan Tiram Pidatrum. So she is doing all this, decorating herself to attract his attention. That is, she is making a self-effort to gain Perumal. This is the same that is shown by Tirumangai Alvar in Siriya Tirumadal and Periya Tirumadal, and Nammalvar in Masaru Sodi Padigam, which is 5th Thiruvaimari, 3rd 10, where he says, Aam Konegal Seidu Kudiriyai Madal Urdume. both of them are saying through these verses that they will even do the act of Madal Urdal, which is an effort to gain his attention. And the second state mentioned by Pillalokacharya is Tannai Tarikkavum Pannum. Tarikkavum is that bhakti which, after being unable to bear separation from him even for a moment and forcing Alvar to make these kind of self-efforts, now makes Alvar become angry when he sees Perumal arriving late and starts to say things like Pogu Nambi and Kalaga Merel Nambi. That is pushing him away. Nammalvar does this in the 6th Thiruvaimozhi, 2nd 10, Minnidai Vadavargal Pasuram, where he says, Pogu Nambi, go away from me. Kalaga Merel Nambi, don't join our group, etc. So, losing that state of Ennan Seigain is expressed in the Karai Poonum Pasuram, and losing the state of Tariyen Ini is shown in the Minnidai Vadavargal Pasuram. That is, losing that Bhakti Paravasam, Alvar starts doing these things, which is self-effort and pushing him away when he shows. In the next sutram, Pillalokacharya says that these opposing states can be seen not only with him, but also with things that are related to him. Sutram number 53. இந்த ஸ்வபாவ விசேஷங்கள் கல்யாண குணங்களிலும் திருச்சரங்களிலும் திருநாமங்களிலும் திருக்குழல் ஓசையிலும் காணலாம். When he says in the swabhava viseshangal, he is not repeating what was said before, which is the act of self-effort and the act of pushing him away. Instead, Pillalokacharya is talking about the other such opposing states. And he says those can be seen with other things of Perumal, such as Kalyana Gunangal, which is his divine auspicious qualities, Tirucharangal, which is the divine arrows, Tirunamangal, which is his divine names, Tirukural Osai, which is the divine music coming out of his flute. And he says, with those also these opposing states can be seen. Here, two meanings are given by Manavada Mamunigal. Let's look at the first one. He says the same thing are causing two different states in those who are experiencing them. This is seen with his Kalyana Gunas. The examples given are Andal saying in Nachiyar Tirumozhi, Govindan Gunam Padi Avi Kathiruppen. By singing the divine qualities of Govinda, I will protect myself. But Nammalvar says the opposite when he says in Thiruvaimozhi, Valvineyene Yerigendra Gunangalai Udayai. He says, you have these qualities which are torturing me. Next one is the arrows. In Periya Tirumozhi, Thirumangalvar says, Sarangal Anda Tandamarai Kannanakandri En Manam Tandu Nillade. My mind goes to that Perumal who, shoots those arrows from his Sangambo. But the same Thirumangalvar in another place says, Sarangale Kudidai Adagindra, that his arrows are destructive. His divine name is spoken about by Thirumangalvar in Tirunadandandagam, where he says the parrot saves Parakala Nayaki, that is Thirumangalvar in the Nayaki Bhavam, is saved by the parrot reciting the names of Perumal. Thirumalai Padakettu Madakkadiyai Kaikuppi Vananginale. However, in Thiruvaimozhi, Nammalvar says the Koil birds are killing Alvar by saying his names. Kuil Paidalgal Kannan Namame Kudarik Kondrir. This is also seen in his flute music. Kulasekar Alvar in Perumal Tirumozhi says, Engalukke Urunal Vanduda Unkudal Innisai Potharade. That is, the music is saving him. Whereas in Thiruvaimozhi, Nammalvar says, Avanudai Teengudal Irumalo. The divine sweet music coming from his flute is actually torturing Alvar. All these are capable of causing happiness only, but they appear as causing both good and bad only due to the state of the bhakti in the person experiencing them. This is the first explanation given by Manavada Mamunigal. It is not because of the changing acts of the qualities, the arrows, the names and the music and so on. It is the person who is experiencing them They are the reason why they appear to cause both good and bad. A question may arise here, says Manavada Mamnigal, that not all these words are by the same Alvar. Some are by Thirumangai Alvar and the opposing one is by Nammalvar, or some are by Kulasekar Alvar and the opposing words are by another Alvar, and so on. So how can we compare the effect of each on a different Alvar and come to this conclusion? And Manavada Mamnigal answers himself by saying that all Alvar states are the same. All of them have the same Parabhakti that was given to them by Perumal himself. So there is no conflict here. He also raises another question by saying that Sarangale Kudidai Adaginra, that is, his arrows are destructive, is actually the words of the Rakshasas in Ravana's army who lost to Rama. Whereas other Alvars take on the bhavam of a lover, or the mother, or the friend, and so on, Thirumangai Alvar takes a very unusual anukaram, which is taking on the role of the Rakshasas in the defeated army of Ravana. So the question raised here is, how can we take the words of the Rakshasas and use that to say that the arrows can cause destruction, and say that is the opposing state of the arrows being the savior for another Alvar? And Manavada Mamnigal answers by saying that it is because of Alvar's desire for Rama's victory, and he really enjoys that so much that he has taken on the role of the Rakshasas. So due to his great bhakti only he has taken up this role, which is similar to taking on the role of a Nayaki and so on. So when he says that the arrows are torturing him as a Rakshasa, it is as if he himself is being tortured by them directly. The second meaning given by Manavada Mamnigal for this sutram is that he says the previous sutra, it was said that the one thing, which is the change in state of the Bhakti Paravasam, caused the opposing states in Alvar. So he says, here also we can say it is the same thing, namely the qualities, the arrows, the names and the music and so on, they themselves are causing opposite states in Alvar. So, thus so far, the greatness of Prapatti, the greatness of Archavatara and doing Prapatti there, the three types of Adhigaris doing the Prapatti, Bhakti Paravasam being the most important amongst the three causes of Prapatti, the change in state of that Bhakti and the effects of that were shown by Pidalokacharya. Alvar Emberivanar Jiyar Tiruvizhigale Sharanam Adiyel Madhura Kavidasan.
So I think that that last section, Sutras 51 to 53, involve a lot of understanding of the Alvar's works. So
Yes.
probably you didn't get a whole lot out of that unless you also studied Bhagavad Vishayam before. So this is it's becoming more and more complex here, and there's a lot of he's making the jargon is getting harder, the terminology is getting harder, and also he's referencing specific prabandhas by different alvars and verses and moods and meanings that they have. And
Yeah, right.
even in the last one, he's talking about seemingly contradictory ideas that the alvars are giving. But this is all to explain the three different adhikaris for property. Okay, so
Yes.
the understanding of the three different before the previous section, we could understand the three different adhikaris or qualifications for property or surrender. But now that he's giving the details and he's giving the examples, it becomes sort of difficult. I think it's probably important to go into much more detail if you really want to understand this more deeply. We have to look at the actual translations of the prabandhas that have been.
It's the sentiment of the Alvars is very similar to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's sentiments. This very mystical, sentiment.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's this you saw there. He was talking about Peri Alvar, thinking of himself as the as a gopika, and the gopi is getting ready for, and decorating herself nicely with a gold chain and bangles and chewing betel nuts to make her lips red to be attractive for Krishna, to attract Krishna.
Yeah, right.
And then Krishna doesn't come, and then the mother of the gopika is complaining why Krishna didn't come. So there's a lot of very intimate esoteric sort of
very nice. It's like I read this book by Andal, this Tirupavai.
Right.
That's also you find all these sentiments there.
And he quoted also from Natya Tirumoli, which is her other poem about how she marries Krishna.
Yeah.
But without fully understanding, without fully going through, you have to understand this book is written, and the examples given in it should be easily understandable by people because they should have already read all the poems of the Alvars.
The Alvars,
Yeah. So if you haven't done that, then it's really hard to understand the examples.
I can have some understanding. Yeah. But I never read their poems. No, I like to.
I did upload. I did give a link to a
yes,
translation.
you did. Yeah, you did. Yeah, right. I will download. Yeah, great.
Yeah. There's also when I did my degree of Vaishnavism at Madras University, there was a section that we studied of there was an introduction to the Alvar's prayers and things. And by no means do I know a lot about it, but perhaps if you want to see that, that might be a good introduction. That section of
I was trying to find these 4,004 verses that was also mentioned by one of the devotees.
It's there on the internet.
The sacred book of 4,000.
Yeah,
that was a translation. Oh, did you put that link?
Yeah, I put the link up there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, you put the link. Oh, great! So I can get that book now.
Yeah.
Oh, that's really nice.
You can.
Okay, I will do that. Yeah.
You can, and and if you want to see more, it's there on. There's a website. But it's very hard to find the English part of the website.
Okay.
The website is fully in Tamil, and so you have to know the Tamil script, and then you can look for the particular ashram that you want by a particular Alvar. And then once you get that verse, you can click on something and you can see the English. So it's very difficult unless you know Tamil script.
Yeah,
and
sure.
So therefore the book is better. And I did put the link up there if you want.
Okay, great.
Missed it and you want it again, just let me know. Yeah.
ஆழ்வார் திருவடிகளே சரணம், எம்பெருமானார் திருவடிகளே சரணம், பிள்ளைலோகாச்சாரியர் திருவடிகளே சரணம், ஜீயர் திருவடிகளே சரணம். In the previous few sutras, Pillai has taught us a lot about surrender, about prapatti. In today's section, for about 5 sutras or so, we will see what Pillai teaches us about the nature of prapatti, nature of surrender. The key thing to keep in mind here is that surrender or prapatti has been taught in different ways. The Shastras teach us that surrender is a means that can be adopted, similar to karma, jnana and bhakti. So karma, jnana, bhakti, prapatti, they are all said in the same breath as means that one can adopt to attain salvation or to reach Lord Sriman Narayana. We have seen in the past sutras that many people physically adopted surrender. For example, Dharmaputra, we saw that Kakasura physically fell at the feet of Rama. Lakshmana did the same. Vibhishana did the same. And many examples were shown. Because of these, it is possible that one may think that surrender is a means that one can adopt, or prapatti is a means that one can adopt in order to reach Lord Sriman Narayana. That is, we can consider prapatti to be a means, independent means. But it is not so. That is what Pillai explains in the next few sutras. If prapatti is considered as an independent means, then there are blemishes that come in our understanding of the nature of prapatti. Let us see what they are. 54th Sutram. Idu tannai paarthal பிதாவுக்கு புத்திரன் எழுத்து வாங்குமா போலே இருப்பதொன்னு. This is a beautiful sutram. This says, if somebody thinks of prapatti or surrender as a means, then it is similar to a son who gets a written guarantee from his father that the father will save him. We know that Lord Sriman Narayana is the father for all of us. He has been looking after us since time immemorial. He has karunyam, he has compassion for everybody, and he is all powerful. Now think of the situation on earth. When a child is born, just from a moment a child is born, the father is always worried about the well-being of the child and the good upbringing of the child as the child gets older, and hence the father constantly is doing things for the child, is constantly trying to help the child and saving the child. This happens when the child is just born, so the child does not know anything. This happens when the child is a little baby, when the child is 4 years old, 5 years old, 6 years old, 10 years old, 20 years old, and so on. Now imagine that the child, once it grows up, it gets some intelligence, some knowledge. Let's assume the child is a boy. If the boy goes to the father and says, okay, you should save me, O father, because you are my father, so can you please give me a written guarantee? It is laughable, isn't it? Because the boy might think that if the written guarantee is there, the father will save him. Then won't we all laugh at this? Because we know that with or without the guarantee, the father will always save the child. Father will always save his son. In fact, he has been doing that since the time the baby was born. Even before the baby knew how to think, this has happened, isn't it? The same analogy is what is given by Pillai Lokacharya. He says that if we think that prapatti is the means for Lord Sriman Narayana to save us, it is equivalent to a son who has grown up, who is trying to save himself, who is trying to get his father to save him by asking him to give him something in writing that he will save him. That is the analogy that is said. So it is clear from what Pillai Lokacharya says and what Manavala Mamunigal says that is not the case. Prapatti is not an independent means, because similar to the father-son analogy, if the son wants to get something in writing from the father that he will save him, then the relationship between those two, there is a blemish on it, because father's duty is to save and the son's duty is to be saved. That's the nature of both. The same nature exists for Lord Sriman Narayana and us. Hence, prapatti is not an independent means. Lord Sriman Narayana himself is the means. Then the question arises, if that is the case, then what is the nature of surrender? What is the nature of surrender is the question then people will ask. If it is not an independent means, what is the nature? And that is answered in the next few sutras. 55th Sutram. Idu tanakku swarupam tannai poradoligai. So he says, the nature of prapatti or sharanagati or surrender is such that it will not accept, that nature will not accept it being called an independent means. So if we call that prapatti is an independent means, then it is against the nature of surrender itself. When one looks at it on first glance without thinking deeply, it may occur that this is an independent means because people have fallen at the feet of Lord Sriman Narayana. We have seen that. The Shastras say that it is a means. Hence it is an independent mean if we think like that. That is only on first looks. But if we really think deeply, if we really understand the nature of surrender itself, then it will be clear that the ascription of an independent means to prapatti is against the true nature of what prapatti is. In the next sutra, the 56th sutra, a technical point is answered. Angam tannai olindavattai poradoligai. Here there is a specific Nyaya sutra that is taken. The Nyaya sutra or logic sutra states the following. Yadyat sangam tattat sadhanam is the sutra. It basically says that the things that are prescribed along with accessories, it is also a means. So here when Krishna in Charamashlokam of Bhagavad Gita, Sarvadharman Parityajya Mamekam Sharanam Raja, he says that Mamekam Sharanam Raja, surrender to me, But before doing that, he says, Sarvadharman Parityajya, leaving any other means, any other method that you are trying to use to reach me, you leave all those, then you surrender to me, he says. So we can consider surrender to be the Mamekam Sharanam Raja, and the accessory to be leaving other things come to me is the accessory. So if we look at the Nyaya Sutra, it says that if there are accessories prescribed along with an act, then the sadhanam is there, then it is a means. Here, Pulle Lokacharya and Manavala Mamuni refute that. The reason why they say that is as follows. Normally, when you see an accessory that is prescribed, that accessory is in the nature of do this. It's a method or procedure that is prescribed to be done along with the main thing. But here, the nature of the accessory is nivritti. The nature of the accessory is giving away, is relinquishing other things and then surrendering to Lord Sriman Narayana. Hence, it does not directly apply here, is what Pulle Lokacharya and Manavala Mamuni says. So that is this sutra. In the next three sutras, he goes into a little bit more detail around the nature of Saranagati and compares it with nature of Lord Sriman Narayana and the nature of other means like Bhakti Yoga, and firmly establishes that Sharanagati is not an independent means. We will see what they are in the next three sutras. The 57th sutra, Upayam Tannai Purukkum. The Upaya, the real means, will accept being called as the means. Here Upaya is Lord Sriman Narayana. Lord Sriman Narayana is the only means for all of us. So given that he is Ishvara, he is the controller of everyone and everything, and he is the one who is all independent, all powerful, all compassionate, and he provides us the things that we desire, and the things that we do not desire do not come to us. He is the independent means. He is the Ishvara. Now if we say that Lord Sriman Narayana is the means, then it is acceptable to his nature because he is the one that's controlling everything. That is what Upayam Tannai Purukkum means. Beautiful set of pramanas are given by Manavala Mamuniyal here from Sri Rangarajastavam and other places, but we will see only one from Mahabharatam. Te vadanti Mahatmanam Krishnam Dharmam Sanatanam. Those Mahatmas, they say that Krishna is the Dharma. Krishna is the only Dharma, they say. Hence, calling him as Upaya is acceptable to him. Of course, the corollary here is that this Lord Sriman Narayana, this Upaya, this means it will not accept being mixed with other means. So if we surrender to Lord Sriman Narayana and if we also adopt some other means, then it is not good. Then a blemish will come. The only thing we have to do is surrender to Lord Sriman Narayana and just pursue that path. No need to have some other means in addition to this. The next sutra talks about Bhakti Yoga. Upayantaram irandayum purukkum. Other means. It will accept both. The nature of other means will accept both. We will see what it is. Bhakti Yoga is a means that is told to us by the Shastras. And it is adopted by people who do not fully understand their complete dependence, paratantriyam, and subservience to Lord Sriman Narayana. And they try to reach Lord Sriman Narayana through their own efforts. Swayatna parada iruparku. Through their own efforts, they try to reach Lord Sriman Narayana. For people with such mindset, our Shastras give a moksha sadhana. Shastras give us a means to try to attain moksha, and that is Bhakti Yoga. This Bhakti Yoga, of course, the nature of Bhakti Yoga is such that calling it a independent means is acceptable because it is an independent mean. And it is also acceptable, it will also accept, the nature of Bhakti Yoga will also accept the accessories, the other means like Karma Yoga and Jnana Yoga. Because to do Bhakti Yoga properly, one has to do Karma Yoga and Jnana Yoga properly, and then only Bhakti Yoga can be done. Because of that, the nature of Bhakti Yoga will accept other means in addition to it. So Bhakti Yoga will accept itself being called as a means, and it will accept other means in addition to it as Angas. The next sutra talks about the nature of Prapatti or Sharanagati. Idu irandayum poradu. Sharanagati, Prapatti, surrender, the nature of Sharanagati, Prapatti or surrender will not accept both. Will not accept it being called an independent means, and the nature will not accept other accessories. That is primarily because we saw some reasons before. This surrender is the nature of nivritti, giving up everything and then leaving everything up to Lord Sriman Narayana, surrendering to Lord Sriman Narayana. You have to give up other means and then surrender to Lord Sriman Narayana. Because of that, other accessories will not be acceptable to the nature of Sharanagati. And of course, we saw that the nature of Sharanagati is such that calling it an independent means will be against the true nature. Manavala Mamunigal beautifully says it is Adhikari Visheshanam. The surrender is a qualification, is a quality of the person who is seeking moksha. Somebody who has surrendered to Lord Sriman Narayana, the Visheshanam, one of the qualities of that person is that he or she has fully surrendered to Lord Sriman Narayana. And hence, the Upayatva, being an independent means, is something that is not possible for Prapatti. He firmly establishes in the past few sutras. It's
very technical. It's a little bit technical. Property is
no,
not,
it was clear. It was okay. Yeah, it was not.
Property is not the upaya.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's clear. Yeah, so it's a little tricky to do bhakti yoga, huh? But after prapatti, of course, you want to get into bhakti. Huh?
There's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with bhakti. There's nothing wrong with bhakti.
No, there's nothing wrong. Huh? No, because the Alvars were also really into bhakti, but not bhakti yoga. Huh? That's the difference. Huh?
Yeah, the distinction is it's not a means.
No, it's not a means. No. It's a way to be with Krishna, to worship Krishna, to serve Krishna, but not as a means for liberation. Huh?
Right.
That is one of the main purposes of this book, to rule out this whole misconception.
Well, they already discussed that there's no qualifications for property.
Right. Yeah.
So if the point is that what is the real means? The real means is the Lord. The Lord is really the means.
The Lord himself
is really
is
the means. It's not even your surrender is the means.
No, not even the surrender. No.
Right.
Yeah.
So what they're saying, they're going even beyond that. They're saying, like Lord Rama says, just say I'm yours one time. Once only say I'm yours, and I promise to do you. Krishna says, abandon all varieties of religion and surrender unto me. So they're saying surrender is a means because it says that, but it involves giving up the other means first. That as the angas, as the subsidiaries to that, right? So
right.
But then they say no, that's not necessary because and they explained there are three types of people, three different adhikaris for property. People who don't really know, all of this. They don't know, and but their acharya knows and helps them.
Yeah.
And then there are people who have some knowledge about it, who understand it theoretically, and then there are people who are impelled by devotion,
right. Yeah.
And the great acharyas like Pililokacharya and Malavala, they count themselves in the ignorant category. What to speak of us. Right.
Yeah.
So it's all very, very, and it's complex in the way that they try and say that they try and explain that property is not actually, if people think that property is saving them, their property is saving them. Your property is saving you. Your property is not saving you. Only God is saving you. That's it.
That was a very nice example he gave with the father and the son. The father is always saving the son. That there doesn't need to be some contract or so. The father
No,
will
it's
save
actually
the
it's
sun.
not a matter. It's not a matter of not only doesn't there need to be a contract. If the son comes and insists on a contract, it's a fault.
It's a fault. Yeah, it
Yeah.
disturbs
So
the
what the
relationship.
Tangalize is saying, is, if you do the other means are there. The other means are given, like he said, for people of that mindset. There are people of the mindset that you have to do bhakti yoga. There may even be people. There are even people, not Vaishnavas particularly, but there are people who are not Vaishnavas who say only by jnana yoga. The Advaitins say only by jnana can you reach moksha. Jnanad moksha. From jnana comes moksha. And then you have people who are people who say, oh, all I can do is work, through karma. And you read the whole Bhagavad Gita, you see karma, jnana, and bhakti. You see all these things being pushed there. So there are definitely ways. But there are ways only for a person with a certain mindset. But that mindset is wrong. That's a wrong mindset.
Right.
And even when you get beyond that mindset and you get to the mindset of just surrender, that's also wrong. Even beyond that. The Lord is the thing that saves you and not the property.
Right. Yeah.
So they're being very clear. And see, this is and you have to give up those other things. If you still, it's sort of like if you cling, like Draupadi, the example of Draupadi, she's still hanging on to the sari.
Yeah, right.
So there are people who are hanging on to these notions of bhakti yoga and jnana yoga and karma yoga. No, I have to do bhakti, and a little bit of karma and jnana is helping me do the bhakti. And but in the Gaudiya, to the credit of the Gaudiya Sampradaya, they say that the highest bhakti is jnana karmadi anavritam anukulyena krishnanusila bhakti.
Right.
So they say the uttama bhakti is the bhakti that is devoid of karma and jnana. So they get to the point. They get to the point of saying, okay, in the beginning, karma mishra bhakti and jnana mishra bhakti, the bhakti mixed with karma and jnana is there in the beginning, but it should be ultimately given up karma and jnana and only bhakti.
Right. They say that.
Right?
Yeah, they
only
say
bhakti.
that. Yeah.
But this is so much beyond that. This is even more beyond that. That even the idea of bhakti being the means has to be given up. Even the idea of property being the means has to be given up.
Right.
The Lord is the means.
The Lord Himself is the means.
Not your surrender. Nothing that you can do, and no guarantee that He, that you don't go to Him with the idea that you said in the Bhagavad Gita for me to do this, and therefore I'm doing this, and therefore you have to save me, and that's the way it is.
No, the Vaisnava Dharma verse, the Chadama slok makes it very clear, very clear conclusion.
Well,
I will save you. Don't
it
worry.
Doesn't. No. This is beyond the clear meaning of the normal meaning of the Charma Sloka is give up this and then do this, right?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
But it's not. You don't have to do either.
It's beyond that even.
It's beyond that even. Correct. That's what they're trying to say to you. That's what they're trying to explain to you. That property is such a thing that it's not even dependent. Is it dependent upon giving up karma, jnana? It's really different. The mentality is there. Okay, first of all, you have a set of people who have the mentality that they can only do it by karma, jnana, and bhakti.
Yeah.
The Charma Sloka is there to wipe out that mentality.
Right.
And to tell you just to surrender. No, give up that. Give up the karma, jnana, and bhakti and just surrender, right? But then what they're saying is ultimately you have to realize it's not the surrender that's saving you. It's the Lord, Mam Ekam. It's Him alone who is saving you. Like that. And it's, if you say property is a separate means, then it becomes just like karma. This is what we were talking about with Tirunarayan in the other classes, which you.
Yeah, you have a lot of discussions with him. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can hear
They're saying, the Wadagalais are saying that property is there and it's a means, and it's just like the other means. Like bhakti is a means. Like the Gaudiyas say, bhakti is a means, and they say karma and jnana are helping the bhakti in the beginning, and then at a certain stage of bhakti we give them up. And the
Right.
Wadagalais are saying the same thing. They're saying
Yeah.
properties are means, and bhakti and karma and yoga are helping, but ultimately it's property.
Right.
But the
Yeah.
Tengalais are not saying that. They're not saying that property is the means, and that karma, jnana, and bhakti are helping. They're saying the Lord is the only means.
Right. Yeah.
The Lord is
Yeah.
the only means, and property is not an unga is not an unga. It's not an ancillary. You don't have to do that. There's nothing
Yeah.
that you have to do actually to be saved, because if they get an example of Namalwar understanding, although he also said in that Tirubai Moli 583, I believe, he said that I don't know what to do. So he in that verse showed that he had all three adhikaris. He had all three qualifications. He had I don't know, he had I know, and I am compelled to do it out of bhakti, out of my love for you.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
So he showed all three things in one pasuram, in one verse.
Yeah. Right.
So
Parshurama.
so that's the. I mean, it's a little bit complex and a little bit deep, and depends a lot on knowing the examples, understanding the examples. Okay.
Yeah.
So now that I
Yeah.
have a little bit more time, I'll be able to put these up. I'm not sure whether I'm going to put how I'm going to do this, exactly how I'm going to put it up, but I'll put it up, and I may take our discussion separate and just put up the
Sure. Yeah.
the verses,
whatever.
And his explanation, like that.
Yeah. He's a really good. The way he speaks is it's a little bit similar to Velukudi Krishnan. The way he speaks.
And the thing is, you have to know that I have a huge book here.
Yeah. Right. Big. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
I have a huge book, right?
Yeah.
Which goes into a whole lot more detail.
Ah.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. So more or less, probably we probably get through about a dozen sutras in a sitting here. But like in this book, they're taking one sutra, and it's like 2 or 3 pages
Wow.
of detail in it, and that's also quoting from other places. So more stuff could be brought in. So it's
maybe
really,
I should read that book too. Maybe I should read.
Yeah, if you want to get, my friend in Sri Rangam can send you a copy if you want.
Okay.
Otherwise, I'm not sure if I have time to scan it. It's
no, you don't need to scan. No, that's too much work. No,
I've done it before for people.
No, that's okay. Maybe I can order it on internet somewhere. Is there some bookshop? Maybe I can.
Yeah, from my friend in Sri Rangam. You just let me know.
Okay.
So tomorrow we'll continue on.
Yeah, let's do that. Yeah, thank you very much. Okay, for your time and effort.
And
thank you very much.
For those who were not there for most of this particular session, I'll try to get, as soon as possible, I'll try to get it all up on YouTube.
Yeah.
Or we can start. That was pretty complex today, so
I could follow it. It's I think I understood it.
Yeah, it's at the edge of my understanding, I have to say.
Yeah, it's at the edge. But that's very stimulating, for the intellect. And
I want to hear it again. I want to read it again, and I also want to. I need to read.
I will read it again also.
The parts in the full book.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Yeah, it's a really it's a very elevated scripture.
See, like when he's quoting pasarams from the Alwars, what I'd like to be able to do is have the Alwars book, then just stop and read in context what he's talking about.
Yeah. Right.
Directly from the Alwars prayers.
Yeah. That may also be a very interesting, for many people to read the Alvar books, to read. Because Naam Alvar, I read a little bit in Naam Alvar. I have some English translations, but not the complete 4,000 verses. But
Well, but once again, the complete 4,000 verses are just translations of the verses. There is commentaries, and this is why Alwar, Dr. Alwar in Melkote, his father, Dr. M.A. Lakshmi Tadachar, said he was willing to teach us in English Bhagavad Vishayam. And Bhagavad Vishayam would be going through the prayers of the Alwars, especially Tiruvai Moli of Nam Alwar, right, with the commentaries on the prayers. So you have to
nice.
The people who are studying Sri Vacana Bhusanam are people who have already probably gone through Bhagavad Vishayam, so they know they're familiar with the, it's like when he quotes Tirupan Alwar's Amalan Adipiran, right? So I know who Tirupan Alwar is. I know what Amalan Adipiran is. Maybe I don't know it by heart, but I know what it means. It's a description of the Lord in Sri Rangam from foot to head, like that. That's about all I know. I can't quote you any verses, right, like that. But the rest of you, did you know that? Do you know what Amalan Adipiran is? Do you know who Tirupan Alwar is? Do you know the whole story and how the whole thing?
Yeah.
So the more that we know about the background information, the more that we'll get out of what is being commented here, because without the background, it's sort of hard to know,
Well, maybe it's also the other way around. After reading Sri Vaisnava Bhusanam,
yeah, sure. I mean,
you can maybe also understand the Alvars better. Or
that's true.
I'm becoming more eager to read the Alvars. I never really got into it.
Right.
But you have to study with other devotees. You have to study these books together.
Well, that's the thing. So Lakshmi Tadachar is willing to give us classes in English on Bhagavad
that would be
Vishayam.
great. That would be great. Yeah.
But we have to find people who are interested in doing that. You may be interested in doing it.
I am. I am very much
but
interested.
We have to find other people, because it's probably more. It'd probably be a little bit even more technical, because it'll be dealing with a lot of the. It'll be dealing. Right now, a lot of these sutras here are in Mani Pravala, and so there's Sanskrit mixed with the Tamil. So there's a lot of Sanskrit which is understandable, at least from.
So maybe.
But that's all. That's all.
Maybe the scriptures of Ramanuja will attract more people, because he's more famous.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Ramanuja. Well, it depends. Amongst Tamil community people, the Tamil scriptures and the Bani Pravala are of course things that people like to study more, because they can relate to it more, they can understand it more directly. It's like reading Shakespeare for us. So reading the Prabandhas. But as far as Ramanuja is concerned, he didn't write in Tamil. He didn't write in Mani Pravala. He only wrote in Sanskrit. So what most people know about Sri Vaishnavism is they know about the works of Ramanuja, maybe of Yamuna, and that's it, or some Sanskrit works of Vedanta Deshika, and that's it. They don't know the Tamil. Even if you read History of Indian Philosophy by Das Gupta, who was a Sanskrit scholar from Bengal. He explains all the different schools of Indian philosophy, but he says when he comes to explain Sri Vaishnavism, he says, I'm explaining here what I've understood from Sanskrit sources, but I'm not able to go deeply into the Tamil sources.
No.
Not to speak of the Mani Pravala. So you don't get a full understanding of Sri Vaishnavism unless you. That's why they call Sri Vaishnavism Ubhaya Vedanta, the Vedanta of Tamil and the Sanskrit. It's not just Sanskrit Vedanta, but it's of the Prabandhas as well.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So that's a very important part. Plus of course the school of Pancharatra is also there. But basically it's Tamil Vedanta and Sanskrit Vedanta. It's that too. So it's to get a full understanding of Sri Vaishnavism, you have to go beyond the works of Ramanuja because they're only in Sanskrit. You have
Okay.
to
Yeah.
go. Okay. So tomorrow.
Okay. Thank you. Namaskar. See you tomorrow.